Hello and welcome. This is the Midday News. 3 policemen, Teddy Kayaro, Kali Yori and Saroga Police Station Commander Jerry Aura, was scheduled to appear at the Waigani Communal Court today for alleged rape of a 22-year-old woman while she was in their custody on Tuesday, 3rd June. The 3 have been charged with 1 count each of deprivation of liberty, extortion and sexual penetration. The 4th suspected rapist is Sevato Maima, an auxiliary member of the force. He is still on the run. NCD Central Commander Assistant Commissioner of Police Benjamin Turi is calling on the members of the public and relatives of Maima to urge him to surrender to police. We will have more updates on TVWAN online on the outcome of today's court appearance. An impersonator was arrested by NCD police yesterday morning for allegedly conspiring with 35 others to provide security for New Sky Pacific Limited without the approval of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. Ivan Nawaz, 32 years of age, from Makam, Morobe Province, is an employer of New Sky. He was charged with 15 counts of stealing by pretense under Section 404 of the Criminal Code and 1 count of impersonating a member of the police force under Section 137 of the Police Force Act.
Police have confirmed that there are about 36 people involved with the main police impersonator Ivan Nawaz. 23 are regular policemen supported by 13 alleged impersonators who were in a security contract with New Sky Pacific Limited. The alleged offense was committed between 2023 and 2024. NCD police successfully apprehended 1 of the impersonators yesterday and is on the lookout for the other 35. According to NCD and Central Commander Assistant Commissioner of Police Benjamin Turi, who is the main complainant in this matter, about 2.48 million kina was identified through this security contract. Turi said each of the people involved received 69,000 kina each, adding to 2.48 million. They were paid through their bank accounts. The NCD commander added that the police officers involved include senior officers of the NCD command. He said warrant of arrests will soon be issued to apprehend the others. Salome Vincent, TV1 News.
Mission Aviation Fellowship in Papua New Guinea has launched its newest aircraft, P2AFD, into service, delivering passengers, fresh produce and vital supplies to some of the country's most isolated communities. Piloted by Marcus Bishop, the aircraft completed its first 3 days of operations in the rugged Teleformin region, landing at hard-to-reach bush airstrips of Busilmin, Takin and Wobogan, which rely on air transport. According to the MAF, flights play a critical role in supporting local economies in places like Takin and Wobogan. Store goods are flown in from Tabubil and the fresh produce is flown out to markets. Bishop said it's rewarding when flying this part of the country because he gets to see the life-changing impact of delivering basics like rice, education and medical care. The Northern Territory's largest Aboriginal legal service is calling for an emergency intervention into the jurisdiction service system in the wake of 2 separate deaths of First Nations people in police custody in a fortnight. It's one of several prominent First Nations organizations citing deteriorating relationship between Indigenous Territorians and local authorities, with half of those in prison yet to have their day in court.
Of Kumanjai White in the Red Centre sparked national calls for an independent investigation. Concerns are growing. The NT can't afford to wait for any probe.
The only way we expect that there will be change is if we have a forum where all the parties come together and we have an emergency intervention into what's happening in the territory.
A second Aboriginal man has now died in police custody in a fortnight, a senior man from Wadair and community leader. With another tightening of bail restrictions, half of all prisoners are now on remand, less than a year since a historic apology to Indigenous Territorians. A warning the new measures are watering down the presumption of innocence.
They're seeing their family, their sons, their daughters, their husbands, their wives being locked up and held on remand for long periods of time. So we're getting into a situation where Aboriginal people in the Territory are fearful of police.
Naja wants federal representatives to join NT officials and Indigenous leaders in finding a solution, the latest in a series of organisations urging federal authorities to intervene. Both the chairs of the NT's two largest Aboriginal land councils have also described a breakdown in the relationship between Indigenous people and the new NT government. The Central Land Council's now calling on the Commonwealth to withhold funding to the NT until it sets up a police conduct commission. The NT government doubling down. Following extensive consultation, we will continue progressing justice reforms that put the rights of victims before offenders. We continue to back our police and are proud to see officers serving and protecting their own communities. The Federal Minister for Indigenous Australians didn't respond to a request for comment before deadline.
A Japanese Mogami-class frigate has docked in Darwin as part of the tour of Indo-Pacific. Japan is hoping to secure a $10 billion contract and provide the Australian Navy with updated Mogami-class frigates, but faces competition from Germany. A decision on the contract, known as C3000, is expected to be made by the Australian federal government later this year. The Japanese government and the ship's manufacturer, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, are in competition with Germany's Tysrup marine system. The contract will secure 11 new ships to replace the Royal Australian Navy's 8 Anzac-class frigates, the first which was decommissioned in February 2024 after nearly 30 years in operation. As Los Angeles enters the early hours of the morning, there's uncertainty over how long the protests will continue for.
Well, some pretty chaotic scenes here in downtown LA. You can see protesters have set fire to bins, they've set fire to cars. There's a constant noise of helicopters overhead, both media and law enforcement. You can see every now and then you'll hear the bang of a flashbang grenade, and there's lots of these little foam batons strewn across that police have been using to try to disperse. Unclear if that has come from law enforcement or from protesters, but as you can tell, a lot of chaos here in LA, and that's continued now for 3 days. It started obviously on Friday in response to those immigration raids on a number of workplaces, and there were fears that the President's decision to deploy the National Guard would escalate tensions. The Governor, Gavin Newsom, said that he thought it was deliberately inflammatory and that it had nothing to do with a shortage of law enforcement, and that really the federal government was just trying to create a spectacle. And a spectacle is absolutely what this scene has become. Now, as I mentioned, there's another one of those flashbang grenades that you can hear quite loud, quite frightening, and that's designed to disperse these protesters. Now, as I mentioned, these raids came about because of those, these riots came about as a result of those raids on workplaces, and that appears to be a new plank in the Trump administration's immigration regime that's just begun, a new phase in that policy that he took to the election and that's surprisingly been popular among some Americans. Interestingly, new polling came out today that showed that there is broad support in America for the policy itself, but not the execution. People are not happy about how this is being carried out, and certainly the scenes here in LA will make people question exactly how they're carrying out this immigration policy.
In sports, the Melanesian Spearhead Group Prime Minister's Cup football tournament will return to PNG this November. The host agreement was signed in Fiji recently by Vice Minister for Mining and Minister assisting the Prime Minister in Sports, Sam Basil Jr.
Since hosting the inaugural MSG Cup in 2020 in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea will have the honour to host it a second time. PNG will host the tournament as two-time MSG Cup winners. Minister assisting the Prime Minister in Sports, Sam Basil Jr., signed the host agreement in the presence of senior government officials and members of MSG Sports Committee last week. He said PNG will ensure that the local organizing committee is given the mandate to formalize plans with key stakeholders, service providers, to prepare for the tournament. Minister Basil acknowledged MSG counterparts and officials for supporting the signing of the host agreement. Dates sanctioned are endorsed under the FIFA window of opportunities through OFC as a Tier 1 ranking competition. The tournament kicks off 10th to 22nd November 2025. Fiji, New Caledonia and Vanuatu are taking part. The objective of the MSG Prime Minister's Cup concept is to provide an avenue of preparation for MSG members' national football teams for both men and women towards the 2026 World Cup qualification rounds and beyond. Salome Vincent, TV1 Sports.
And that ends our midday news. Do join us 6 tonight for the main bulletin.